Hello, good morning. Looks like it might be raining later on today, so it can still be a good morning, of course. But here in the Philippines, no matter where you're living, each day offers a new challenge. But you know, yesterday I had an unusual day, but I tried to express my update video that how important it is to be able to hear. Hello. But sometimes you can make a video and people watching the video miss the point. They hear the words, but they miss the message, the point of what one is trying to say. Personally, I hate text message. Why? Because you're trying to express a few things of your thoughts into a few simple words. But the person watching or reading those messages interprets them in a way that only they can understand. For instance, you can say, "I love you." What does that mean? It means I love you. It's quite simple to me. But for some, why do you love me? And then there are those that would say, why are you saying that? Why do you need to say that? And that's the whole point about text messages. We live in a world now that it's all about sound bites. It's all about getting a message over as simply as possible, and then hopefully waiting for an acceptable reply. You know, when I was young, I had a girlfriend, sweetheart, little, I don't know, 14-year-old, I think she was. Her name was Alice. I'm sure Alice wouldn't mind me saying it now. We're both big girls now, as some people might say. But we used to write messages like, "I love you." As a 14-year-old, it was called puppy love later on. And therefore, it didn't have the same meaning in adult form as it did when we were youthful, young teenagers, just teenagers. But we used to post these. I used to go to Wales in this big house where Alice and her family lived, and I had a soft spot for her, as you do as a young boy. And we used to post these little messages under the door where she was sleeping and hope that she would get up and send one back to me. And I would get to read it before my mother discovered maybe what's going on here. And that was the form of messaging. Some of us had pen pals who, there was no romance necessarily, but it was just a way of communicating. Today we communicate with text messages. The problem that we have also living in the Philippines is that so many of us do, and I say we do, have difficulty getting our point across to the one that we love. Again, we use that word, the one we love, the one that we want to be with, the one that means a lot to us. What is love after all? You know, that's the big question anyway. But what I'm trying to get my message across today about is, in my thought for the day, is that we do our best. Oh look, we found our way back to the same area. In the background, the cows are in the field. And if we can just get through the point that we stop being selfish for ourselves, we stop thinking just for ourselves. I mean, without getting too deep into the Bible, and I'm not a Bible person, I admit, hands up. But fundamentally, it doesn't matter who wrote them, doesn't matter who put them down in which book and which paragraph or which phrase. Do unto others as you would want them to do to you. Something like that. Maybe it's in the Ten Commandments, I don't know. But the point is that I'm making is that we do things, we should be doing things unselfishly. Doing things to make somebody else's life a better day. Sorry about the dog, but he is deciding it's time to tell me to piss off. And we'll just wait till we pass by him. Be quiet. As if he's going to listen to me. But you just have to keep an eye on dogs because they have a habit of challenging you. In front, as I'm walking further down the lane, as I call it, there are chickens, and it looks like a threesome of ducks. Mummy and two half-grown ducks waddling down the road. But back to my point. That is, Filipina, your Filipina, will always find it hard to admit that they maybe made a mistake, that maybe their criticism of you was maybe a little unfounded given your effort. I'll turn around so you can see our little ducks. There they are. See them? They're over there, waddling along in the morning. Come on, boys and girls, he's saying. Follow Mum. Such a lovely, peaceful scene in the morning to greet one's mind and clear one's thoughts. But I've spoken about jealousy, I've spoken about conflicts, I've spoken about so much. And many of you have got the message. You understand where I'm coming from. Maybe you've been in the same situation, something maybe similar to what you imagine it should be. But no matter what, every day, no matter where we are in the world, we have to learn. We learn to adapt, we learn to listen. Just because they say, you're not listening to me, doesn't mean to say you're not listening to them. You are, but you're also reading ahead. It's like when somebody talks to you, they talk to you how they intend you to hear them, hopefully. And you preempt often what the rest of the sentence means to them. You're rushing ahead. In a way, you're reading the subtitles. But sometimes that's misconstrued by a Filipina as being, you're not listening to me, you're not taking note. It's like, how many of you guys have been out there and maybe been in a relationship that has failed, that hasn't worked out? How many of you have asked yourself, was it my fault? Was it hers? It's nobody's fault. That's just life. It's no one's fault that something doesn't work. What it is truly sadness on both halves. I cannot imagine that anybody deliberately wants to create heartache and despair in each other's lives. But these things happen, Hell hath no fury. as they say. But nevertheless, we try as so-called normal human beings to get our message across. When somebody helps you, of course you're going to feel a little embarrassed, a little bit, maybe a little uncomfortable that you weren't able to achieve what they were able to achieve for you. But sometimes saying it can be misconstrued. Therefore, it's important that we take note that not everything we do in life is totally understood by everybody. And there will be moments in one's life where you step off the wheel to try and make the other person realize that what you are trying to achieve is for the better good of all. By being truthful, by being honest, that's your whole intention. My goodness, you get to this end where the concrete ends and the gravel starts, and then sadly somebody in such a beautiful location has managed to spread out rubbish all over the ground. What a pity. It's such a beautiful scene walking here. It reminds me of a country lane in England. Not quite, but it has a feel of that. So it might seem like I'm rambling, but there is a message there. Try and step back from the abyss. Try and realize that sometimes those that try so hard and don't achieve it are worth holding on to, worth listening to, worth understanding better. More better, that doesn't sound right. Sorry about that, guys. My grammar's not very good this morning. But my hearing aid, thanks to my dear friend, who maybe he hears the wrong message in my message last night. I hope not, because I do appreciate the effort. And yes, I do feel a little embarrassed that maybe his kindness shouldn't have been offered. Maybe, after all, a 4,000 peso one would have sufficed. But he naturally wanted to help me. But hopefully he'll understand, with the time passing, that his good efforts, his good nature, have paid off. They've enabled me to hear the sounds that clearly are around here. I wasn't able to hear the other day. So, to all of you guys out there, all you ladies out there who think you maybe made the wrong mistake, just remember, it doesn't take much to swallow your pride. It doesn't take much to have a bit more faith in those around you. When somebody asks you something, it's always better to think before you answer, because sometimes drastic things can happen, and nobody wants that for anybody, regardless of whom their anger, their disappointment is aimed at. We all have to remember that words can be more powerful than the sword. That's my thought for this morning. I hope it hasn't bored you shitless, but that's my thoughts. I hope you have a lovely day. I hope if you're listening to this in some parts of America where it's still night time or early morning, I hope you enjoy. Bye now.